Taming the Dragon. How radar logic taught me to accelerate profit. They don't seem to be connected, do they? I stepped out of my shop and into the DSP main bay. There stood Chief Warrant Officer Miller, mid-conversation with the lieutenant. "What would you recommend for this project?" the lieutenant asked. Miller didn't hesitate. He pointed right on me. "We got a new Spec 5. He's right here. No one better." That moment kicked off one of the most intense and rewarding assignments I had in the service. The mission? Simple. Decode and map out every single circuit that traced itself to the tracker in the CW radar. It was part of the newly improved Hawk CW radar system. This whole concept was not Raytheon approved, and it wasn't in any manual. It was low-key, R&D, shop-level hush-hush because it was high risk, but it was also going to be high reward. Before we touched a single wire, I turned the entire shop into a sea of white-page schematics and field manuals. FMs and TMs everywhere. I spent hours with a flashlight in hand, crawling over line by line across the prints, watching for every millimeter of cross or connection. And the difference was a period. If there was a period on where it crossed over, it was a connection. I wasn't a board replacer. I worked at component level, so this was the kind of troubleshooting I was used to. But this much, it was quite a challenge. And I have a feeling that Warrant Officer Miller had already been through this, but he was going to check my notes against his. Meanwhile, Miller was doing the same sort of detective work, but over at the high frequency console. It's our main repair bench and the one that's used for tracker alignment. That unit was programmable, though it was using hardwire. It had hard switches and multiple interface ports. If we could wire the test fixture to communicate through that console directly instead of through the use of jumpers, we would eliminate most of the stops in the repair work for manual jumpers replacements. Now, this unit had an ECCM section, which was extremely stable once it was up and functional. But you had to power it and let the oscillator stabilize for 20 full minutes before you did anything. And if you had to shut it down every time you needed to move a jumper, you did. It was standard procedure to prevent shorts. Remember, this thing had early ICs in it and transistors. Every shutdown meant another 20 minutes wait. Now you stack that across the multiple test points within the procedure and you started looking at a 2.5 to 3 day job for a single functional tracker. Well, if there was something wrong, that meant additional time to troubleshoot it. Let's be honest. I suspect Millard went out and found a perfectly good tracker and tested it, and then he was the one who used a jeweler's screwdriver to make it not work. So it was probably still a good unit, just way out of tune. And this was going to be our test chassis. This whole thing took me off my regular bench. Other men had to take up the load, and I could feel it. Some of them looked at me sideways while I got to play around with all these schematics and hobnob with the big guys. You know, the brass and the semi-brass. I wasn't turning in anything fixed or clearing faults like I used to. And this work had to stay quiet until we proved it. And if we did, every improved Hawk repair bay on the base would feel the impact. We worked it, and the first time, there seemed to be some minor problems. So the rework finally was done using the same tracker. It locked in and on in 2.5 hours. And this was with brand new instructions. The thing was stable, and I knew the test was reproducible. I took Millard's notes and laid them on what I had pulled from the schematics and marked out everything that was irrelevant in the test manual. What remained would shape the next revision. It would be lean, almost battle tested, and far more efficient. That tracker was our dragon, and we tamed it. So, what does this have to do with business coaching? How about everything? Because what profit acceleration software does for business is exactly what the test fixture did for the radar bay. It replaces slow, manual, shut it down, and start it again guesswork with precision-driven processes. And this is not a script. It's not a cookie-cutter method that works for everyone. Instead of wasting days testing what's not broken, we track down where the money is leaking. And when that locks on, it's clean, stable, and profitable. Now, while I don't chase electrons anymore, those little suckers bite, I still track signals. I still decode flow. And I still help teams replace chaos with clarity. If you're a business owner running flat out and you feel like you're losing ground, the more revenue's coming in, but your profit margin is not there. Let's see if maybe you need a better test fixture. Let's find it. Now, if that whole message resonates with you, subscribe and follow the links in the description.